Hi there. Today I'm going to talk to you about France Identité Numérique. What is it, what's the big deal, and why it's France's next big thing. So for context, you need to know that at the moment it is election time in France. And because essentially Macron decided to pull a Gordon Brown on us. And similarly to Gordon Brown, the results are, how should we put this, questionable. So, but anyway, today's not about politics. Because voting comes up soon, I needed to look into proxy voting because essentially I usually end up in a situation where basically I need to resort to proxy voting. And I needed to set it up again for this instance. And so I looked into it because I hadn't done it in a while, things could have changed, and they did. Because usually in France, the way it works is that you had two ways to organize proxy voting. Either you could go for what I would call the old method, where basically you would need to print a form and fill it and go to like a police station, have it stamped, or I don't know if they digitalize it or they stamp it the old-fashioned way, but in a way or another, pen and paper is the vibe, and that's one way. The other way, which I would call modern old, is essentially you would do all the filling the form online. I guess they give you a code, and with that code you end up going to the police station and then they stamp it, or similarly it ends up being online. To be frank, I'm then unsure what happens when you get to the point for the person voting for you, but I'm sure it's like easy. But this time, the government basically offered a third option, which is France Identité Numérique. And it comes in useful because essentially, if you set up France Identité Numérique for yourself, you can bypass going to the police station to stamp or validate whatever, certify, because the level of certification this feature offers just is good enough. So you can just self set up your proxy voting for someone else to vote for you on your behalf. So that's cool. And obviously I'm interested because I'm into tech, and also it sounded convenient because I needed that to be sorted. So before I go any further, I just want to point out that France Identité Numérique is not going to be useful just for proxy voting. There are a bunch of other features which are either planned or are live already. And essentially, to give you an idea, you could, for instance, log in many other government websites with it, or you could get a digital version of your ID and your driver's license, which is obviously useful in scenarios where you lost your wallet or things like that. So yeah, there's basically like a lot of other things, but today we'll focus on proxy voting with it. And so what I needed is basically a modern French, so EU ID card. And the reason for this is because those ID cards have an NFC chip in them, and those chips have a lot more information than whatever is written on the card. Those chips, for instance, have your fingerprints on them. So the idea being that, for instance, the police officer could just scan them with their device and just get, easier, quicker access to the information. But in this instance, what I needed to do was to download the app, so the France Identité Numérique app. I had to scan my ID card with my phone, which, by the way, was a bit, I don't know, we're clearly at the point of technology where you can use your own phone to scan your own ID card to extract information from it. I don't know, I guess I'm easily amazed. But anyway, once I was registered, the app spoke to my card and vice versa. I ended up getting a QR code. And now what I need to do is that I need to go to the Mairy. And this is another situation where I can't speak for the whole of France, essentially. I think it's a case-per-case basis, depending on the city and what's available to you. It is also kind of a recent feature, so I am getting the vibe that not everyone's up to speed, up to date, or even aware. So I called up this morning and I spoke to two different people. One of them told me I needed to get an appointment for this, The other one told me I didn't, but the other one was from the department, so I'm going to trust that. And as such, right now the next step is that I need to go to my Mairy and give them the QR code, and apparently I don't need an appointment, so we're going to see how that plays out. So let us go. So this place usually has a fountain activated, so it's like, you know, water coming out of the floor, which is very great for summer because kids can play in the middle. And I guess, you know, you can't have it on all the time. But yeah, great place usually. And also it's not the weekend or anything, so maybe that's also why. This place is Antigone. I mean the neighborhood. Bear with me. So this neighborhood is called Antigone, clearly after some Greek things, and basically, yeah, it's very unique, I would say, in its architecture. I'm not an expert, but I wouldn't say this is typically French. It's a weird kind of Roman brutalism. Not sure what I'm saying, but I don't know. It's just I like it. It's also especially great at night. It's got a very, very unique vibe at night as well, with all the, you know, city lights and everything, lampposts and what have you. But yeah, those flats, look at that. It's just, yeah, people live here. I mean, you may have offices in the middle of all that, but people do live here. And unique is the word I'd use. Oh yeah, also there is kind of a Greek theme in this area of the city. So as I said, the neighborhood's called Antigone. This is called Place, so like Plaza, Place Zeus. So obviously, you know, named after you know whom. And someone added a little extra thing on it, which I also like. I also like this bike. Some people, it's a controversial thing, but I like it. I like what they did with it. I don't know who okayed this, but I like it. I think it's neat. It's neat. I like it. My, what a fancy building. Such an odd way to do things. But hey-o. And we're back. So, as you can imagine, it's not the kind of place that likes to have people filming in for privacy reasons, hearing other people's details, etc. So, yeah, but it's quite straightforward what happened in there. It took me more time to work out where to go and start queuing than it actually took time for the whole thing to be processed. So ultimately they asked me for the QR code, they asked me for my French ID, and they scanned everything and all that, and then they asked me to check my fingerprints. I had my fingerprints scanned, both hands, to check, I guess, very securely that, you know, it is me. And then she was like, well, it's all done. You'll get an email in 48 hours, and that should be, you know, you should have it in time for election day. I'm not so sure about this because, first of all, election day for us now is in 2 days. It's Friday and it's going to be on Sunday. Well, you know, who can guarantee this? But the funny bit, this is where it gets slightly funny, is that mid through this whole process, not filming, just the whole process, I sort of realized that the person, well, the candidates in the area where I can vote, someone won first turn. They got like 56%. I'm not going to say who, not going to say blah blah. I'm not super fond of the result, but what have you. And so it means there's no second turn. So all this for all that. So here we are. Now, that being said, it still means that I'll have access to all the other features that I sort of touched upon earlier in the video. And I guess I'll wait 48 hours and I'll see what comes out of this email, and I'll probably add a little bit if there's anything relevant, and I'll conclude that video then. But for now, it is what it is. So I'll see you in 48 hours. So I got the email. It did not take 48 hours. As such, I now have access to my ID on France Identité Numérique, and that's good. However, for every good news, there's always a piece of bad news, and bah oui, sinon ça serait pas drôle le coco. Turns out you can't add digitalized IDs to Apple Wallet or Google's equivalent, so I was wrong about that. And if I understood things correctly, the France's stance on it, like the French government's stance on it, it kind of goes like this. Non, juste non. On ne veut pas donner nos données aux Américains. Genre, non. De plus, on veut que nos données soient bien françaises, élevées au blé, du terroir. Bref, les serveurs sont sûrement au château de Versailles. And if you ask me, it's pretty on brand. Anyway, I then started to look into how to add my driver's license to the app, and things took an interesting turn, believe it or not. Indeed, for me to do so, I need to convert my old driver's license to a modern format. And this is a big deal. It is a big deal. Let me tell you why. For you see, this is the pathetic excuse. See, I can't even open it. It's ridiculous. There you go. This is the pathetic excuse that pretends to be my driver's license. Yeah, but, it gets better. Yes, it does get better. It gets better for two reasons. One, converted said license to the new format, to the modern format, promises to be a brand new, grand French bureaucratic journey. And two, there is a new separate technological feature to test out in it. And I mean, how could you pass? However, this is the point in the video where I feel I ought to precise that I did not intend to make this a series. But what do you want me to say? Judy calls, Mairy calls. So I shall see you in part 2. Oh, tea's fucking cold now. That's okay.